I just 3D printed this dumpster and I'm going to show you guys how I transformed it into a candle. Dumpster fires are all the rage.
Dumpster fire.
Dumpster fire.
Team Dumpster Fire.
Dumpster fire.
So how cool would it be to have a dumpster fire candle of your very own? You know, to kind of set the mood when your life sucks. Now I could just print the PLA, fill it with wax, put the wicks in there, and that would be my candle. But that doesn't seem safe. So I'm going to test it out.
Nah, it ain't gonna work.
So no, that's not safe. So we need to turn this into metal, just to make sure. So I printed another dumpster bin, and this model came in a lot of pieces. So I need to get each one cleaned up and prepped, and then I'll assemble them all together. For some of the pieces, the only way I can get them on is if I glue them, so I'm going to use some super glue and just stick them in place. I don't know what that piece is called, but I think it's on there pretty good. This front piece I'm just going to call the front piece. And these are the wheels, and they don't really roll, but they kind of look like wheels. So we're taking some artistic license. Once it's all together, we're going to take the pieces and attach them to the sprues. The sprues are wax which will melt away, leaving a channel for the metal to flow into. Now I noticed some gaps where I glued the pieces on, and I don't want any investment or ceramic shell to get locked behind those gaps. So I'm going to take a small piece of wax, melt it to fill the gaps, and then smooth it over so no investment, nothing can get trapped in there and leave a casting flaw. Now I'll add the sprues to the bin. Now I use a soldering iron to melt the wax, and normally that works pretty well, but sometimes it's a little difficult to get the wax to adhere to the PLA.
Whoops.
Sometimes it just takes a few tries. Next, I'm going to attach the pouring cup. This is a styrofoam cup covered in wax that'll melt away really quick when I do the burnout. The purpose of it now is to create a pouring funnel for when I pour the metal. Then I'll attach the bin lids to the main sprue tree so I can get everything all in one pour. So the dumpster is assembled and sprued, and I'm going to give ceramic slurry another chance. Now I haven't had the best luck with ceramic slurry, but I'm bound and determined to figure it out. The first layer will be ceramic slurry on its own, and after that I'll start adding layers with sand. Now in the past I've used this rounded silica sand, and I haven't had too much luck with it. And I know you're supposed to use fumed silica to prevent the cracks of the shell. Because I don't plan ahead, I don't have fumed silica. So I'm gonna try something I've never heard of anybody using: coal slag. Coal slag is what I use for sandblast. It's very angular and very cheap and readily available. I can buy it right down the street. What better way to make a dumpster fire candle than trying an unproven, untested technique? I'll need to put about 10 layers of ceramic shell and sand on this before it's ready to burn out. It's my understanding that coal slag is what's left behind in a coal-burning fire plant. Instead of throwing it out, they use it for sandblasting and maybe ceramic shell casting. Now there seems to be a lot of loose sand that's not quite stuck to the ceramic, so I'm going to dust some of that off so it stops falling off in my bucket. Each layer needs to dry before I put the next one on, so this process takes about a week to complete. So I've got some pretty thick layers over the dumpster. I think that'll do it. I'm going to put this in my flash out kiln and melt out all the wax, but I've never done that with PLA and wax. And I don't know how this coal slag is going to react. I have no idea if it's resistant to thermal shock, if it'll crack. Don't think it'll melt. This might be a
freaking dumpster fire.
Let's heat it up and find out. The idea behind this kiln is that it heats everything up so fast that the wax turns to liquid before it has time to warm and expand, cracking the shell. I'm just not sure how the PLA is going to act. The wax melts out and drips away really quickly. The PLA takes a little more time. That looks like PLA mixed with wax to me. So I think we have a success. And look, no cracks. I'm actually really impressed with how well the coal slag worked. No cracks at all, nothing to repair. That's fantastic. I still need to put it in my kiln and bring it up to vitrifying temperature. That'll turn the ceramic into a more stable structure. PLA doesn't always burn out the most cleanly, so I use compressed air to blow out any ash left behind during the burnout process. I'm going to cast this dumpster in aluminum. I'll carefully take the hot mold out and put it in a bin of sand. I'm going to bury this one, being careful not to get any sand down the pouring funnel. This aluminum stays liquid a whole lot longer than bronze does. I let it cool overnight before I start to take it out and break off the shell. It's surprising just how strong the ceramic really is. It doesn't come off easily. I see there's some air gaps in between layers, which isn't what you want, but it's a lesson for next time. I need to cut off the sprues just so I can get some of the ceramic to break away. It's particularly challenging to break away the ceramic that's inside the bin. I tried a bunch of different tools and chisels and screwdrivers, and in the end, it just took a whole lot of elbow grease. But I finally got it out. And it's starting to take shape. A little sandblasting will help clean off the rest of it. The sprues are blended away partially with a Dremel and partially with a hand file. In order for the dumpster lids to stay on, I need to run a metal pin through the lids and the dumpster. But the holes seem to have closed up during casting, so I'm going to have to drill those out a little bit bigger. Now, I've never seen an aluminum colored dumpster lid, so we're going to have to change that. I'm going to spray paint those black. But for the bin, it's gotta be dumpster green. However, they don't seem to make that specific color of green. I went with seaweed green. And that sure looks like dumpster green if I've ever seen it. I took a piece of welding rod to fasten the lid to the bin. I just bent it on the ends, and those are secured. So we've got our dumpster, now we just need to make it a candle. I found these wicks at Hobby Lobby, and I think they'll work perfectly. For wax, I'm going to use pure paraffin wax. I don't know much about candle making, but I think paraffin is what they use. One thing that surprised me is how much shrinkage there is when this stuff cools. Figure I'll have to top it off to fill that hole. And there it is, the world's greatest dumpster candle. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I think it looks really cool, and I think it's kind of unique. I've never seen anyone make one before. I thought about lighting it, but you know what? Life doesn't quite suck today, so I think I'll save it for a special occasion. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.